Malaysia Airlines flight.
It's on the mystery of Flight 370.
239 people on board, including 4 Americans,
disappeared and has yet to be found.
What if the world's biggest aviation mystery just got even darker? On March 8, 2014, Flight MH370 vanished with 239 people on board. Now, more than a decade later, a hidden telecom file has been uncovered. Inside it lies a chilling final message from a passenger.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Decoded by a cybersecurity expert, and it's terrifying. The flight and initial disappearance. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur at 12:41 in the morning. It was heading to Beijing. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew. In total, 239 people were expecting a simple 6-hour trip. The night was calm. The plane was in good shape. Nothing seemed wrong. At 1:19 in the morning, air traffic control heard the last words from the plane. The co-pilot said, "Good night, Malaysian 370.
Delivery Malaysian 370, good morning.
Just 2 minutes later, at 1:21, the radar signal disappeared. No alarm, no warning, no distress call. The jet was gone. Confusion turned into panic. Soon, one of the biggest searches in history began. Many countries sent ships, planes, and satellites. For years, they searched the ocean and even deep underwater. More than $200 million was spent. Yet the main wreckage was never found. Only small pieces showed up later. A broken wing part called a flaperon washed ashore on Réunion Island. Other fragments appeared on beaches in Madagascar and along the coast of Africa. These scraps proved the plane had gone into the Indian Ocean. But the most important parts, the black box, the cockpit, and the body of the jet, remained missing. Without them, there were no clear answers. How could a modern plane, full of advanced systems, vanish without a trace? Some believed it was a sudden accident caused by a mechanical failure. Others thought it was a deliberate act carried out by someone on board. But every theory had gaps. Nothing explained the entire mystery. For the families of those on board, life became endless waiting. Every year brought new searches, new claims, and new disappointments. Hopes rose whenever a piece of debris appeared, only to fade again when no clear proof was found. 10 years later, the mystery still haunts the world. MH370 remained one of the greatest unsolved puzzles in the history of flight. A jet vanished from the sky, leaving behind silence, fragments, and endless questions that no one could fully answer. But what if the silence wasn't complete? What if one passenger left behind something that nobody knew about for 10 long years? The hidden signal discovery. For 10 years, the world believed flight MH370 left almost nothing behind. Only silence and a few broken parts of the plane were known. Then in 2024, a hidden detail finally appeared. One passenger, known by the initials LR, was sitting in row 25, seat F. He was an engineer in the American defense industry. With him, he carried a small personal satellite device. It could send signals directly into space. This device was never listed on records and was not known during the first investigations. On March 8, 2014, just as the plane disappeared, a European remote sensing satellite recorded a faint signal. At the time, analysts looked at it and quickly dismissed it. They called it data noise, just random static. The file was saved, but it stayed buried in archives for a full decade. In 2024, artificial intelligence tools were used to review old satellite data. These tools could scan billions of points in only seconds. During this process, the faint signal was detected again. The system marked it as unusual and important. The pattern was clear. It matched the type of signal that could only come from a personal satellite device, the same kind LR had with him. This discovery changed the timeline of the flight. It proved that after the plane's transponder went dark, at least one more transmission left the aircraft. It was not a system signal from the plane itself. It was personal, sent by a passenger sitting in seat 25F. For 10 years, the signal had been forgotten, lost under the label of noise. Now, with the help of artificial intelligence, its true meaning was uncovered. The hidden file revealed that in the final moments of MH370, a passenger managed to send a last transmission. That message, long buried, was about to be decoded. When experts finally cracked open that hidden file, what they found inside made their blood run cold. Signal analysis and decoded content. When the hidden file was opened in 2024, experts quickly saw that this was not an ordinary signal. The transmission carried a military-style encryption pattern. It was built to be strong and secure, almost impossible to read without special tools. The signal also moved very slowly, breaking into small bits as if it struggled to reach space. This showed clear signs of interference. Specialists also noticed that the data flow was uneven. The pattern matched what happens when air pressure drops suddenly inside a plane. It was not smooth, but broken, with long pauses. The interference grew worse as the transmission continued. After many checks, the source was confirmed. The MAC address in the file matched the device carried by passenger LR in seat 25F. The decoded content gave a picture of what was happening inside the jet. The data showed a catastrophic loss of cabin pressure. Air inside the plane had thinned quickly, making normal breathing impossible without oxygen. At the same time, there was strong electromagnetic interference. Systems inside the aircraft seemed unstable, as if struck by a sudden wave of energy. The file also showed a rapid change in temperature. Within only 4 minutes, the cabin grew colder by 20 degrees Fahrenheit, about 11 degrees Celsius. The air was dropping fast, making the environment inside harsh and unsafe. Alongside the data was a short audio clip. It lasted only 6 seconds. The sound was not of alarms or panic. Instead, it carried steady breathing, calm, slow, and controlled. Analysts believed it was recorded through the satellite device as the message went out. Together, these pieces formed a chilling picture. The plane was losing pressure. The temperature was falling. Systems were being hit by interference. And one passenger, still breathing calmly, managed to send out a hidden signal. It was the last trace of life from MH370. But this wasn't just any passenger sending a final goodbye. Hidden in that same signal was something that would change everything we thought we knew about where the plane went. The coordinates revelation. The most shocking part of the decoded file was not just the environmental data. Hidden inside the signal were encrypted coordinates. When experts unlocked them, the numbers pointed to a spot deep in the southern Indian Ocean. This location was far from the main areas searched after the plane vanished. The exact point was marked at 29.128 degrees south and 99.934 degrees east. On maps, it showed up as a restricted zone. For years, this part of the ocean was closed off under international agreements. Civilian sonar scans were not allowed there. Later research revealed why. The zone was linked to a classified stealth sonar project run by the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. It was used to test advanced undersea detection systems. The area had been marked as highly sensitive, and all normal mapping efforts avoided it. This detail explained a huge gap in the search for MH370. The official mission spent years scanning vast areas of ocean floor. They covered over 120,000 square kilometers. But the restricted zone remained untouched. It was located about 1,560 kilometers west of Western Australia, Despite being close, it was never included in the official search patterns. The coordinates from the passenger's signal placed MH370 right inside this excluded area. The discovery suggested that the plane did not just vanish randomly. It may have been guided or forced toward a part of the ocean that was under secret monitoring. If true, this meant the plane's final moments were recorded in a zone watched closely by military technology. Yet none of that data was ever shared with the public. The hidden coordinates gave a chilling new direction to the mystery. MH370 may have ended its flight inside a part of the ocean where answers were locked away by classified projects. And then investigators discovered something that made this mystery even stranger. 1 month before the flight, someone had already mapped out this exact same deadly path. Captain's simulation connection. While the signal discovery shocked investigators, another detail gave it even more weight. On February 3, 2014, just 1 month before the flight, a flight simulation was found on Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah's personal computer. At first, this file was treated as an odd but unproven clue. For years, many dismissed it as coincidence. The simulation showed a long virtual flight into the southern Indian Ocean. The path was unusual because it did not include a return or landing plan. It simply ended in the middle of open water. This detail had always raised questions, but no solid link to the real flight had been confirmed. When experts compared the data in 2024, the connection became clear. The simulated route from Captain Zahari's computer matched the suspected path of MH370 almost exactly. Step by step, the arcs lined up with what independent radar and satellite pings had already suggested. Most disturbing was the end point. The coordinates at the end of the simulation matched the encrypted coordinates found in passenger LR's hidden signal. Both pointed to the restricted zone in the southern Indian Ocean, the same area 1,560 kilometers west of Western Australia. This overlap changed the meaning of the simulation. It was no longer just a digital exercise. It showed either a level of advanced planning or a scenario where the pilot himself was forced to follow a route already mapped out. The possibility was chilling. Either the captain had created a path that later became reality, or someone made him comply with a plan that matched his own private file. Both options gave weight to the idea that the disappearance was not random. It was tied to a route that led directly into the secret sonar zone. With this link, the mystery deepened. The decoded signal and the captain's own simulation now pointed to the same end. MH370's final destination may have been decided long before the night it disappeared. But the most chilling discovery was still to come. Buried in that passenger's final signal was a message that would flip everything upside down. The digital hijack theory. The final part of the decoded signal carried a short written line. It read, "This wasn't a malfunction. It was a hijack, not of the cockpit, but of the code." These words changed the way investigators saw the event. They suggested the plane was not taken over by people with weapons, but by something far more advanced. There was no sign of hijackers on board, no reports of violence, no physical struggle in the cabin. Instead, the message pointed to a digital hijack where the jet was controlled from outside. Experts believed it was done through remote software manipulation, a method that could bypass human pilots and take command of flight systems directly. This theory matched strange details noticed in the days after the disappearance. Families of passengers reported that calls to their loved ones' phones continued to ring for several days. Some numbers even connected briefly to cell towers, showing that devices were still active long after the plane was declared missing. Later claims suggested the Malaysian government had received the hidden passenger signal only hours after MH370 disappeared. If true, officials knew more than they admitted. Instead of sharing it with the public, they marked the information as classified. Reports from inside the investigation said this choice was made to prevent mass panic. Over the years, these claims fed the idea of a cover-up. Why was the truth held back? Why were families left in the dark while officials held critical information? The discovery of the signal and the line about a hijack of the code only added weight to suspicions. The digital hijack theory did not rely on armed men or forced entry. It painted a different picture: a passenger jet taken over by remote technology, directed to a secret zone, and buried under silence from those who knew. Yet even this shocking truth was just the tip of the iceberg. The real question wasn't how MH370 disappeared. It was why someone wanted it to vanish in that exact spot. The bigger conspiracy. The decoded signal and the strange coordinates pointed to something larger than one missing plane. Investigators began to connect MH370 with a secret project known as Project Eclipse. This was a classified Western military program focused on radar-invisible technology. Its goal was to make objects disappear from tracking systems, not by hiding them physically, but by bending or blocking the signals that should reveal them. The location revealed in the passenger's signal matched what insiders later described as a black zone. This was a test area in the southern Indian Ocean where objects entering the space became invisible to outside detection. Civilian sonar and radar could not track anything there. It was a perfect blind spot. The Boeing 777, the model used for flight MH370, had known weaknesses in its digital systems. Engineers had long warned that its communication software could be accessed from outside sources. While the systems were advanced for their time, they were never built with protection against modern cyber intrusion. This left an opening for anyone with the right tools to take remote control. The overlap of these details suggested more than an accident. The path of the plane, the hidden coordinates, and the silence from governments pointed to an orchestrated operation. The pieces showed careful planning, not random chance. Information was not only controlled, but actively suppressed. For 10 years, the world was told the mystery had no answers. Yet behind the curtain, data existed, signals, calls, and coordinates that linked MH370 to a secret zone tied to a classified project. The discovery of the passenger's signal was not just about a tragic flight. It pulled back the cover on a hidden system of power, technology, and control. MH370 may not have been only a disaster. It may have been the result of a larger plan, buried under the weight of secrecy. The mystery of MH370 is darker than we were ever told. A digital hijack, secret coordinates, and a hidden project all point to something bigger. If this story shook you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the truth is still out there, waiting to surface.